skydiving legend Omar Alhegelan joins me in the studio. He'll be breaking down his journey to create the famous free-flying style, as well as being a stunt double to Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan.
That was a glimpse into Omar Alhegelan's journey as a skydiving world champion. I'm very excited to be talking to him. Let's get started. How does it feel to be doing Padmasana in the middle of the air, as you suggested, being in a lotus position when you're free falling?
Yeah, it is one of the most freeing feelings on earth. Just to be in a position that you've been in many times before, but always grounded. And now to find yourself between earth and sky, in that very same position, with that same control, with that same spirit of being in the now, and that same mental attitude of being present, is beyond words. It is hard to describe.
Wow. You know, like when I was finding things about you in your Instagram bio, that you have written father and the first.
Very first.
Yeah. Can you please tell us more about it?
100%. I've always been extremely passion-driven. So my passion, my love for what I do, for skydiving, has always propelled me to the next level. And it always took the first row. I mean, there was nothing that was more important other than family. When my daughter was born, I realized that all of a sudden, this passion that had been with me for over 25 years is now number two. It's no longer number one. And there's nothing more incredible and more beautiful than to have your perception completely changed by something as beautiful as a child. Because now you realize that the importance in life is not so much about the self, but it's about the other, and about helping the other become the most incredible person that they can become. And that to me has now become my new raison d'être, as they say in French, my reason for being.
Can you tell us about your daughter?
Yeah, I have my daughter. She's now 13 years old. Her name is Dunya, which in Arabic means the world. And one of the most incredible things that I realized as I was raising her was that I got to live a second childhood. I'll explain to you what I mean. In my life, I had wonderful parents who took very good care of me, who always put an amazing roof over my head, made sure I always had food to eat, made sure I was well educated. And so what I wanted to do, and I hope I've been able to do since my daughter was born, was not just to give her everything that my parents gave me, but to give her everything my parents also didn't give me. And all the things that I missed out on, or I feel as a child, I missed out on. And by doing that, I was able to live a second childhood. Because now through her eyes, I was able to live all the things that I missed out on.
Well, I think I can understand. I have a son of 7-year-old. He's studying right now in class 2, right? So I totally understand what exactly you're meaning, you know, like living your childhood through the eyes of your
Exactly, vicariously living through them and seeing all the excitement and the glow, the energy that they have. And this, you know, there's nothing more beautiful than a child and that energy and that love and that innocence that they have, which is, I wish we could just tap into it and just keep draining as much and use it and spread it to the rest of the world.
Absolutely. So you said like you've been visiting Nepal since 2008.
Absolutely.
Right.
I was lucky enough to come here for the very first Everest Skydive, which has happened in 2008. There was an association between a gentleman by the name of Nigel Gifford and Suman Pandey. And after that, Suman took over the operation and have been coming here ever since.
So where do you spend most of your times in Nepal?
When I come to Nepal, it's generally a few days in Kathmandu. Then we fly to Lukla. Lukla, we trek through Phakding, Namche Bazaar, Siamboche. We set up camp at my buddy Pemba's Panorama Hotel in Siamboche. I've always called it the house in the clouds, living in the clouds.
Right.
It's one of the most spectacular places on earth. If you guys ever have a chance, please go and visit. It is incredible. It's beautiful,
Right.
and it's literally in the clouds.
Yeah, I remember sent me videos of his hotel, and I could see Mount Everest, and just
so
in front of
beautiful,
you,
right there.
in front of your coffee
Your
mug
coffee
or a
mug,
tea mug,
right?
right? That was incredible, man.
Ahmad Ablam, so
Absolutely,
big
yeah,
to the right,
right.
Everest, Lhotse, I mean, all
Absolutely.
these. So we go trekking to Siamboche, as I was saying. Then we start a skydiving operation. Then when we finish that, we go back to Kathmandu. And generally, right after that, we go to Pokhara and we do Pokhara skydive in a place called Pame by Lakeside.
So you were the president of, Saudi Arabian
Extreme Sports Federation.
Federations, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, listening to you and experiencing you gives a feel of like a very artistic personality, right? And you are also holding a positions, as a something which is related to the management.
Correct.
How do you handle it? Like, is it difficult, or how do you do it?
It is not exactly my forte, but again, my passion is. And when you're passionate about something, doesn't matter what impediment lies in front of you, you will always go past that impediment with ease and in a very smooth way because you have the passion. They say when you do something that you love, you never have to work one day in your life because it doesn't become work. It becomes pleasure. It becomes fun. So for me, it's the passion of sharing my knowledge and trying to help bring different cultures to the kingdom. So I'm trying to bring skate culture to the kingdom. I'm trying to bring skydiving culture to the kingdom. And although most Western worlds, this sounds like a very easy thing that has already been happening for decades, well, for Saudi Arabia, it's something brand new. And so it's very exciting to try to bring a new type of culture, an extreme culture to the kingdom and make it as efficient as possible by creating venues, by creating stadiums, by creating places for people to go and practice those sports, be it indoor skydiving, like a wind tunnel, be it skydiving and setting up and building drop zones, or skate parks for all the roller events.
So I believe, like for these aspirations to be fulfilled, or for it to get a better push, your current positions really helps you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, you've been we mentioned it earlier, like traveling to Nepal. You have been doing it for a long time.
Yes.
How do you feel when you come to Nepal? Like we know you.
It's my second home.
Right. So, I don't know like how it will relate to you, right?
Sure.
But a lot of Nepalese are leaving the country, right, for the better in the aspirations of better life, right?
Absolutely.
Being a tourist or like being someone who loves Nepal, how do you take it? Like a lot of countrymen leaving their country of origin.
But I totally understand. I mean, that's the ultimate sacrifice. It really is the ultimate sacrifice to leave your family, to go to a different country, to be able to endure the hardships of working in a different country so as to be able to make a better salary, so as to be able to make more money so you can send it back home for your children, for your family, for that capability of continuing a better life. And to me, I mean, my hat is off. I have nothing but mad respect for people who do that. Like I said, it is the ultimate sacrifice. And I totally understand. And yes, it would be great if they were able to afford and get the kind of jobs that they want to outside within the country. But, that's a whole other socio-economic topic that we could get into.
Absolutely. I may be talking about this in other coming in a podcast, right? Like there could be some possibilities within Nepal.
100%.
It's all about it's all about how you think and how you are capable of getting the best out of what you have already as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right? Tourism, agriculture, a lot of other things. We'll talk about it some other time, right?
Absolutely.
So, I believe you remember your first skydive and your recent one.
Yes.
How do you relate with that experiences, man?
Well, my first skydive was one that was so incredible because if you want, up until my first skydive, I lived in darkness. as soon as I made my first skydive, I saw the light. And to me, that shift was incredible. The knowledge of finally finding something that I loved so much, even after trying it just once, that I knew this was it. I knew that I didn't want anything else that had come before it.
How old were you when
I was actually pretty old. I was 28 after my first jump.
Where was it?
It was in Maryland, in the in USA. A friend of mine is a hairdresser. He was cutting my hair, and he's like, "Hey, Omar, guess what I'm doing this weekend?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I'm gonna go do an AFF." I'm like, "What the heck is an AFF?" He goes, "It's an accelerated freefall program in skydiving." I go, "No, you're not." He goes, "What do you mean I'm not?" I said, "We are." And the next day, I went with him and did my jump. I jumped out of the airplane with 2 instructors, one on either side, and a parachute on my back, and as soon as I got into free fall, I knew it. I knew this was it. I don't know if I was a bird in a previous lifetime or what have you, but I knew this was my vision. This was my goal. This was my it. This was my passion. This is what I wanted to do. To the point where when I landed on the ground, I threw my arms up in the air and I literally yelled at the top of my voice, "I was born to do this."
Wow. So you knew right after your first jump?
I knew, and when usually it takes 25 jumps to get your A license. I didn't even have 25 jumps, and I started looking at what competitions there were, and I remember going to my instructor, and I'm like, "Oh, guess what? I'm going to be a world champion freestyler." He's like, "Dude, you haven't even finished your A license. What are you talking about?" And then I told my friends and my family, and everybody's like, "Relax, bro." And I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. I know. I'm going to be a world champion at this. And guess what? Within 11 months of my first jump, I entered competition and I took 2nd place. I missed the gold by 1 point.
All right.
The next year, I went down 1 to bronze. But the 3rd year, I became World Cup champion. The year after that, world champion. And then after that, World Games champion and World Air Games champion. So with my teammate, we were able to take all the accolades, all the competitions that there were in that.
Beautiful. So, being in the air, right? You've been to different countries, I believe, right?
Oh,
Different
absolutely.
countries and different locations.
All 7 continents.
Yes, all 7 continents.
All 7 continents.
So when you jump off, right? When you take when you are in the air, right?
Yes.
And you were seeing things just below you. I just can't imagine, right? It must give you a very different perspectives of the world, of the planet Earth, right? Of the locations where you are. So, first questions: how does it feel like seeing the world from that point? And I'm sure it makes you more hungry to see the world from different locations, like from different air space, right?
Absolutely.
You would want to see the world below. So yeah, just 2 questions at the same time because they are very much related. Yeah,
it's the feeling of being able to be in such different topographies,
right.
such different weather patterns, such different environments. I mean, they're all incredible. And a lot of times people ask me, which one do you prefer? Where was the best place you ever jumped? And my answer is always the same. It's like, how can I compare jumping over the pyramids of Giza? One of the energy vortexes of the world.
Right.
How do you compare that to jumping over Antarctica, over Union Glacier, over a spot that has never been jumped before? Where it took you about 3 years to set up the whole expedition and finally get to do it. How do you compare that to jumping over the Maldives and landing in an uninhabited island, a tiny little speck island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and everywhere you look, there's nothing but beautiful blue water?
Wow.
How do you compare that to going and jumping over the North Pole, over this frozen tundra, this frozen sea that you land over, that is frozen over, that you get to land on top of? They're all so different. they all give you, they all enrich you in a different way. Even though they all enrich you, and that's what they have in common, but each one is a different feast. It's a different sense. It's a different spice. You're cooking, and you can cook some eggs, or you can cook some eggs with some spices, or you can change the spices, or you can scramble it. It's all in the way you add the spices. It's all in the way that you make it slightly different to enjoy it even more.
Right. So does it make you, add the hunger of more spices, as you said, like,
Absolutely.
like you would want to see the Mount Everest, for instance,
Yes.
or from the top, right? Yeah. So how do you, how is it, how exactly, forgive me for
Please.
not being able to put things in the word, right? But, it must be a very incredible experience that you experience all the time, right? So how it makes you hungry? Does it make you, does it make you feel like, you need to make your next jump just right after the jump that you're already taking?
Well, we're definitely addicted.
Yeah,
It's definitely an addiction.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
And the addiction takes many forms, shapes, and forms. Initially, the addiction is an adrenaline addiction.
Right.
It's we're mainlining adrenaline. That door opens, you're about to jump,
Yeah,
the adrenaline comes in. But then it evolves into wanting, like you said, to do more things in different areas. When I was 50, I'm not a mountain climber. I'm not really a trekker, to be honest with you. But when I was 50, I'm like, let me go and try and climb Island Peak. I didn't know anything about anything, and it's a thick 6,000 plus mountain, 6,189 meters. And for me, it was always the love of putting crampons and crossing a ladder bridge through a crevasse. That to me was so exciting. And I was able to live that dream. I was able to get to the glacier. I was able to traverse. I was able to do all these things. I didn't make it to the top. My shape wasn't good enough. I was too slow. I wasn't gonna make it in there. But you know what? To me, I've always had this philosophy that 10% failure constitutes 90% success.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's okay. It doesn't really matter. You don't always have to make it to the peak. You don't always have to make it to the end or what you thought was the end game. It's okay to fail a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because that gives you more time to continue and to grow and to learn from your failures.
Actually, failures are also the part of the adventure, or like the part of the process.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's part of it.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand this, and it's either one way or another. You either make it or you failed. No, you made it. You did. Look how much you got to do. Look what you were able to accomplish. Just because you had set a goal and you didn't achieve the goal doesn't mean that the journey doesn't count.
Right.
And that's what happens. So many people get stuck on the destination rather than the journey, and not understanding that the journey is the destination.
Absolutely.
And it's every step that counts.
Yeah, I think it's in all fields of life, like, the journey that matters. It's
Absolutely.
You don't fail, you just try.
You just continue.
And, you make your I've heard this great philosopher, like, he talks great, Jordan Peterson. He was saying, like, I heard him saying, like, if people have set the achievable milestone so high that most of the people, like they are discouraged even in the beginning, right?
Absolutely.
If you set impossible, if you set too high target for your kids, then it's going to be difficult for them to achieve, and they might feel like as a failure, right? But actually, there is no failure. In fact, it's all about efforts that people are applying, and it's all about journey. It's all about participations. That really matters. I believe that's exactly what you're trying to refer, right?
Totally agree. Absolutely,
So,
100%.
I think being in the air, or like whatever you're doing, as a skydiving, it is already like meditating, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But I think it needs a lot of for you to pursue whatever you're doing, right? It requires for a great mental health and great mental well-being.
Absolutely.
So incredible discipline, right? So can you talk about it a little bit?
Well, you definitely have to be disciplined, and you have to understand what it is that you're getting yourself into. And so in order to get to that level where you can transcend, you have to have such a good education that you have to know the ins and outs of what you're doing. And again, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It could be skydiving, like it could be any other form of sport or any other work. At the end of the day, in order to transcend, we must be able to do everything in autopilot. We have to be conscious of what we're doing to the point where we have unconscious conscious ability.
I understand, yeah.
The autopilots, I call it the autopilot switch. Because once we have reached that level, then the mind can now go into the next gap and start to see what it is that it needs to see and understand, and not be caught up in the, I have to A, B, C, D, E in order to stay alive and to be able to continue what I'm doing. Once this is an autopilot, now the mind can transcend to the next level. And that's the beauty in life, is be able to transcend the quote unquote mundane, the ABCDs, so that your mind can now go to the next level and achieve what it truly needs to achieve. Because the ABC is good to do what you want to do, but you're still stuck in the ABC. And so in order to truly transcend, you must go beyond that point. And the only way to go beyond that point is by having it so automatic. It's like when you drive a car. You're so used to driving your car, especially if you always go point A to point B to point A, back and forth. And you go home one night, and next thing you know, you're inside in front of your house, and you're like, how did I get here? Because my brain was somewhere else. I don't remember the past 10 minutes of driving. It's the same thing. And I know most people who drive have had this feeling where the brain just switches off, even though manually you're still turning right, turning left, stopping at the light, and so on. But the mind has transcended all that, put all that into automatic pilot, and moved on to the next level. And that's where we grow. That's where we dream. That's where we create. So that much more when it's something that you do every single day, like skydiving, and we get to do multiple jumps a day, is the way that you can go to the next level and truly become and do something more than the ABCs of the actual sport or work or whatever it is that you do.
Yes, so it's like pursuing something that you love so much, and you do it so dedicatedly, so meditatively, right? Then it becomes your subconscious gets involved into that practice, and it becomes like, as you said, thank you very much for visiting Nepal, since 2008, and thank you for all your love to this country, right? And thank you for doing whatever you're doing. You're really inspiring the whole world, and it was wonderful to have you in my first podcast. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much for having me on your first podcast. Absolutely. And I hope it's the first of many.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course. I'm also pursuing, this, as you say, like the thing that I love after many years of aspirations, and I'm finally doing it. And I'm starting with you, and it's a blessing to this podcast, and we'll go a long way. That was an incredible conversation with Omar Alhegelan. Now let's shift gears as I welcome Tyler Steele. Tyler brings a whole new perspective. So tell us about you and, about your pursuing this skydiving.
I've been skydiving for about 5 years now. Each year been progressing and started out packing the parachutes, just working on the mat, added in an instructor rating, a coach rating, and then just this year got my tandem instructor rating, so I get to take people for their very first time all the way through their progression, and really get to see them grow in the sport and take it on as a challenge. And
so have you done any skydiving in Nepal?
Yes.
Where?
In Pokhara.
Okay.
It's the second year we came in, worked, and helped with the Pokhara team doing the skydiving event there. and gotten to make a few jumps with a few friends.
So how is it different from the rest of the world to jump over, jump in Pokhara?
I can't say for the whole world because I haven't been there yet, but at least for where I'm from, it's a very, very flat area. We go up to 10,000 feet and you can't see an elevation change. It's just a very nice patchwork of farmlands and cattle grazing. Very pretty, but it's just very flat, not very dynamic. So to be able to be next to even just the hills, the rolling hills that lead up to the mountains, and then have the mountains in the background, that contrast of flat to peaks is just, it's quite...
Yeah, how does it feel,
inspiring, honestly, in a lot of ways. I've never been one to want to climb mountains. Again, I come from a very flat area. I've never had that draw to necessarily climb them, but after seeing them there, I definitely...
Where are you from, the U.S.?
Missouri. It's a very, very dead center. Yep. Midwest area, plains.
So, how does it feel, when you were seeing the world from absolutely different perspective, right? From middle of the air, you were seeing the world below you. How does it feel to be in the air than in the land? What is the? There has to be something that is making you pursue this, and it must be aligned with your existence or personality, whatever you call it, right? Yeah.
I would say the feeling of flight in general. It blows my mind that we humans as terrestrial beings can both perceive and understand flight. That's not something that we are naturally capable of doing, but it's something we're able to adapt into doing. It takes time, it takes training, it takes practice, repetition as well, but the fact that we can figure out how to move this way or that way, the way our eyes can be able to tell I'm this high off the ground. And
so have you faced any, very difficult situations, or have you put yourself or find yourself in a very challenging situations while doing skydiving?
Not immensely, no. I stick to more of a, try to not push the limit too far for myself yet, but I try to stay within normal bounds. But I've had a few close calls with the canopy malfunctions and stuff like that have almost turned into bad situations, but was able to work them out, or was fortunate that they didn't go worse.
All right.
But the biggest challenge is just getting yourself up and out there sometimes. I have a little bit of a performance anxiety. So it's not that I'm scared of jumping out of the plane, or I'm scared of what may go wrong. It's just I'm scared of not doing a good enough job.
All right.
So pushing past that.
Yeah, performance anxiety made it, sometimes it makes it even less than the standards that what we would want it to be.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So sometimes you're sitting in the plane going, more nervous than I should be for this right now. It's the same thing I've done a couple of times. And then, I'm just worried about not doing as good as people may expect me to be.
So you said it's your second time visiting Nepal, right?
Yes.
So what places have you been to?
A few different. We didn't get to as many this year with the time constraints and stuff, but I've been out and around just the Tamal shopping area, the districts and stuff. Been to the Monkey Temple at sunrise and walked all 365 steps up. This year we got to fly out to Lukla and then trek up into the Namche Bazaar, which was a very different experience for me. Being, again, from a very flat area, we don't have a lot of elevation change or trails to hike like that, and get to see.
You have messages for your friends back home, like about Nepal or something?
Please come. Please come. Number one, the views are incredible, but the people are even better. They really are. I hear that a lot from a lot of people. There's different places, but it really is true. Just everybody has just been the most kind and caring and generous, hospitable, that I don't see as much in the States anymore. Because everybody kind of just fills all of their time. They feel like they have this schedule that they have to fill every minute of every hour with something to do, and they don't have that time to sit back and reflect on things, or to take the time out of their day to just even have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
invite them inside even. No, I'm too busy. I'm sorry. It's nice meeting you, or it's nice chatting with you, but you can't even come inside. It's just, I'm busy.
So timelessness. I mean, like being in the moment that you see in Nepali people compared to the,
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
in
And
the
that's,
US.
again, part of the reason we like skydiving so much, because you have to be in the moment.
Right.
It's as soon as you leave the plane, you are, or helicopter, whatever it is,
Do you
you're
have
in the
to?
moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, like I was just trying to relate. A lot of people from Nepal, from India, you know, from Asia, they even from around the world, like a lot of people do meditations, yogas, and a lot of things to practice being in now. Actually, that's the main motive, I guess, right? We are most of the people are not in now; they're somewhere else.
Somewhere
like,
else. They're at work still, or they're back at home. Yep.
Thinking something, like, you know, planning something, or worrying about something, fearing about something. Most of the time, they're engaged. Their mind is engaged. You know, doing other works than being now. So, is it very necessary? Like, is it so compulsive that we must do something? For normal people, for you it might be normal, right? But for normal people, do they have to do a crazy thing like sky? I'm not saying skydiving is a crazy thing. I would love to do it myself.
No, I think I know what you're saying
right?
is like, no, just even meditation alone. Just
Exactly.
the mindfulness, the breathing
Right,
techniques.
right.
And I think that's why it's really picked up over the last couple of years, like in the States itself. It's become much, much more popular.
Is there a way, you know, like where you can be doing any simple thing, like very mundane stuff, right? And then you find yourself in being in timelessness. Like you, for example, you're brushing your tooth, or like you were combing your hair, or like you're dressing up. Is it possible like people can feel exactly the same that anybody is feeling while they are doing something great like skydiving?
Yeah, I think
is it
so.
possible? Yeah.
I think so. Honestly, for me, it's a little bit harder. I'm very aware of everything I do. I don't have very many like habits per se. Like I'm very mindful in everything that I'm doing. I'm thinking it through as I'm doing it. But there are definitely times you get a hobby of any sort. You're working on it. You just keep doing it, and then all of a sudden you just find yourself wandering off into or you're just there in the moment. You know what I mean? You're there focused on what you're doing, and your brain can kind of focus on other things without being like, oh, this priority, without prioritizing those things.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, sometimes I happen to see people, you know, doing something with their hand, like cobblers, like you know, making shoes, or you know, like when you visit villages of Nepal, they do a lot of things with their hand,
yes,
handcrafting.
and a lot of it
and
is.
those people are, you know, like I think they are. You know, to me, that's how I would like to perceive things, right? It's like they are in a most peaceful state of mind, you know, like as you said, as you suggested, being in the mindfulness, right? So, skydiving is one of the arts that enhances or that boosts the well-being, mental well-being.
Yes.
Can you please?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Yeah, you have to be. It's not even have to be. It just happens. It happens without your control. Once you're out there, it's everything slows down. Everything, like, you're just able to.
Yeah, I asked the questions to Omar, right? I asked him, like, how does it feel to be in the lotus positions or in Padmasana in the middle of the air, right? So, you know, have you tried that?
No, I have not. I have not specifically. Okay. No.
Any freestyle you've tried in the air?
A little bit of just the head up, sit flying, and standing in full.
So, you know, like with Omar, it was a different experience. But as you were pursuing, you know, like you were just, can I say, like you were just in the start at the beginning of your career? Can I say that?
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So how is your experience even to pursue those freestyling in the air, right? You know, like something weird, as you said, like performance anxiety, because you want to do better in the sky, so that you get better along with the time, right? But you have to try. You have to try something new that you've never tried before.
Yes.
You might need to try something very different to your next jump you just had in the morning, and in the afternoon you were trying something new. How does it feel? How do you prepare yourself for all those things, man?
Just a lot of groundwork, go running through it, repetition on the ground, because basically what you do down there, you'll end up doing in the air. So if you don't do that preparation beforehand, you'll end up just falling back into what is comfortable and what you've already done, instead of pushing to that new uncomfortable position and unfamiliar position where you don't know how it's going to react. So it's typically just a lot of just thinking it through, visualizing it on the whole plane ride up. You just sit there and just, okay, this is how I want to be, or this is how I want to be, and this is how, step by step, all the way through, and just do it a couple of times, really visualizing it. That even comes back to a little bit of other extreme sports that I've done before as well, skateboarding as a kid and stuff like that. You just really, I can sit here and say I want to do this thing, but it's not until I sat there and actually visualized myself doing it that I was able to actually succeed in doing it.
So, can you relate your childhood with your current aspirations? That like your childhood experience might have inspired for what you're doing right now. Is it?
Yeah, it's a little bit for sure. I never had a specific thing that led me towards skydiving, but I definitely wanted to do something that was active and pursued a challenge of some sort. I didn't want to necessarily just work. Definitely find something that I was passionate about, and then I did end up finding it in skydiving. So
yeah, can you would you mind sharing things that you did in your childhood as something like pursuing adventures, and we will get close to that.
Yeah, like I mentioned just a minute ago, the skateboarding a little bit as a kid. I did that around town, just very leisurely. I never wanted to be like an amateur or professional at it or anything, but tried out a little bit of snowboarding and stuff like that too. But it was really like kayaking, floating on rivers, and the challenge that it presented of trying to understand the way the water worked and the way it flowed and how you needed to react to it or anticipate it. And I think that fed into a lot of where I am today with...
You've been to villages of Nepal, right?
A few,
so you've seen kids, how they play in open ground, like, nothing such as protections. They're just free soul, like playing around, right?
With whatever they can find. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So is there anything like, those kids can pursue to become something like you and make a good living out of these pursuits or out of these adventurous sports?
I think so. I do.
Around not only kids,
but kids especially.
Around the world,
but kids especially, like the number one thing I see them doing is playing, playing and having a good time, and they're making the most out of whatever it is that they got. They have that imagination of like being able to create something out of nothing, and that alone, sticking with that, just being like, okay, enjoy it, having fun with it, instead of it becoming, I have to reach this thing. You just follow whatever path is laid out in front of you, even, and having that in the back of your mind that I want to do that thing.
Right, yeah, but the problem in the city area is like, they don't have enough space or like enough places to go to play freely the way people in the villages can, kids in the villages can
that's
enjoy, right?
Yeah.
So, is there anything like, people in the city, they can pursue, kids in the cities, they can pursue like, there has to be something that could be seeded into the mind of those young kids to aspire to pursue this kind of sports. Like, do you see what are the possibilities? What do you think? What could be the how could they pursue this thing? It's only clubs or like you pay, you go, and you are the part of that event for a time being, and then you got to go back to home. Like, not those. The way people in the village, kids in the villages can, be playing all the time, whatever they have. They don't have any restrictions, time or like any financial restrictions, because the whole environment, whole geography, whole places, whole village is their playground. But that is not applicable to the
city.
City.
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not from a larger city like that, so I don't have that internal perspective of that. I mean, I came from, again, a small enough town, not a village by any means, but a small enough town that I got to run around the town and make the most out of whatever I could, playing in the rivers and streams, playing on the, in the streets or whatever, this, that, and the other. But I didn't have necessarily that same sort of restriction that they would have in the city. So I'm not sure. I don't have a good answer for that one.
No worries.
Yep.
So, Tyler, it was like, I love talking to you guys about all these experiences that you've shared, right? It was wonderful knowing you all, and I wish I could do my next skydiving, my first skydiving very soon. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very
Absolutely
much
appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
My third guest today, Dylan. Let's welcome him. Yeah, tell us about your, skydiving pursuits and what made you pursue skydiving.
Well, I've been in it for about 5 years now as well. Basically, what got me into it was one of our coworkers that we wash windows with and were rock climbing with beforehand.
Especially for my Nepali viewers, right? I would like to ask you questions. How expensive this skydiving sports is?
So in the beginning, like the student progression is anywhere from like $3,000 to $3,500 US, and that's to get you from jump 1 to 25. Includes all your gear rental, all your instructing, and all that. And then once you get your license, getting your own gear is about the same or a little bit more expensive to have your own gear. But once you have your own gear, jumps are anywhere from $27 to $35. So
Okay.
it gets much cheaper once you get through all the expensive parts.
All right. So for the training is expensive, but
Yeah.
once you start pursuing it as a career, it's not that expensive.
No, and then you can get paid to do it as well, which...
Wow.
yeah.
So what is the professional aspirations like? Will it help you make money?
Yeah, I mean, it already does. It's a second job for me currently. And even coming to overseas to work these events, like, generally don't make money, but we're breaking even on everything, getting to experience all these different experiences. And
So did you charge to be here in Nepal?
yeah, yes. Yes.
Okay. So, but would you come here in Nepal to attend events like, did you say it's your first time?
No, I came last year as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's your second time?
Yes.
How did you find, how was your total experience?
I really enjoy the country. Yeah, the views, the people, everything is great. I really enjoy the food, so...
Yeah, I know you guys have a flight after some times, right?
Yeah.
I can see that hurry in your eyes.
No,
Please
no.
give me like a few more minutes, right?
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Tell me, like, how did you, what made you like these things? As you said, like you met somebody, but we meet a lot of people around, and a lot of people talk about a lot of things, but it's not everything that we pursue, right?
Right.
But you pursued this. Why? Like, is it somehow connected to your childhood, or like? Are you adventurous? Like, what made you adventurous?
For sure. I mean, I've always been adventurous. Was also into skateboarding as a kid, got into rock climbing, liked to go hiking and playing all sorts of different sports. So it kind of just melded into all that really well. I've really enjoyed skydiving from the get-go. Never really worried me at all. I was never too scared. But yes, when it gets to once you're licensed and all that, you're trying to perform well. So you do the things you're wanting to do on each jump.
So what is the most I would not say weirdest, but like if that can put the thing at the right way, what is the most weirdest thing that you've done in the sky? If you can't remember that.
I don't really have anything specifically weird that I've done in the sky. I mean, there's all sorts of fun little exits you can do with your friends. Like, yeah, I don't really, and I've had.
So normally, how long it is, being in the sky once you jump?
Depends on what altitude you leave at, but anywhere from a minute to 30 seconds of free fall. And then once you open your parachute, you usually have 3 to 5 minutes of a parachute ride.
So
before you
during
get down.
the free fall and being in the parachute, right? Before landing, like
Right.
the total time durations. What is the exact? How much do you want to be in that period of time?
It all depends, because sometimes I leave the plane and deploy my parachute right away and fly the parachute the entire time.
Right. So I mean, you like flying parachute most? Right?
Yeah. I'm quite into the parachute flying. Like I do
Okay.
what they call swooping. It's like a high
Is it the
performance
same with
landing.
everybody? Is it the same with everybody?
No, not really. Some
people like,
really want
free
the free
falling,
fall. Yeah. I'm still a big fan of free fall, but I have a love for the parachute ride. So
Yeah, you were alone in the parachute.
yes.
How does it feel? Like being alone and seeing the world below you. You're doing something that you love to do, and you have made it your second job.
Yeah.
There are very limited people in the world who can pursue their dream and achieve it, right?
For sure.
So you must think. It's normally, as you know, Omar and Tyler suggested that it's mostly being in now, right? You don't think about other things, but sometimes thoughts might go on, right? And you might think like you might find it wonderfully beautiful, man. For me to imagine, it's a great experience, and I'm just like I already I'm talking to you're the third skydiver I'm talking to in my first podcast, right? I'm already feeling like halfway. I'm feeling like a skydiver. But, yeah, could you please tell me like how is it overall experience like? Do you think or not like when you were in?
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed to jump in some amazing places. In Iceland, over the pyramids in Egypt, here in Nepal. So like I'm definitely taking in everything while I'm under parachute, really experiencing it. But yeah, you don't have to worry about anything else once you're doing the jump. It's all about what you're doing in free fall, how you're gonna fly your parachute and get down to the ground safely.
So normally you don't have time to think about other stuff.
No.
Have you like sometimes but maybe I'm right now sitting here, so I would like to think, right? But sometimes you might do you feel like thanking your life or like overall existence when you are in parachute? Does that kind of thought come in your mind?
For sure, yeah. And I'd felt a lot of that on our trek up to Sembuche and walking around the different villages out there, just really getting to be thankful for everything that we've been able to accomplish through skydiving. Like it's pretty wild that I know how to pack a parachute, so I get to come across the world and do that.
All right, Dylan.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful having you in my show,
sure.
right? And I wish you all the best,
Thank
all
you.
your ventures. And you guys are very young, and I'm sure like you guys will, inspire the world for coming days, to follow their dreams and to do the skydiving. All right.